Welcome back, and I appreciate your putting up with this series of videos on the first session of Classics 396, Myths of Rome. I'm again Professor Nicholas Sterling. I appreciate your sticking with us, and there have been 6 videos altogether on this first session, and we finally come to the last of them, covering the 2 exams as well as the Oath of Academic Honesty. So bear with us, just this one last video for today. And then in the next session, we will actually get to the real subject matter that you took this course for, Myths of Rome. There will be a couple of other administrative things we'll have to cover there as well, but we will be getting into the real course matter very, very soon. So again, just bear with us as we complete this process. Okay, so it is important, as we talked about in the previous video on grading, to spend some time covering the midterm and the final exam, the 2 exams, because as you now are aware, they do cover 80% of your grade, 40% for the midterm, and 40% for the final. So we want you to do a really good job with these 2 exams, including submitting them on time when they are supposed to be, so that you will get a good grade from the course and write good reviews for the course and come back and take more and so forth. So please pay very close attention to how these work so that you do them correctly. I will also mention that there will be later videos specifically on the midterm and on the final exam, as well as review sheets for both of them as well. So this is more just a quick summary so you get the basic points of them, but the closer details will be covered later on in those later videos, again, to guide you so that you will do everything correctly. Okay, now, we have one order of business first to take care of before we get to the 2 exams, and that is the Oath of Academic Honesty. I'd like you to pause your video, please, and go on Sakai back again to forums. There is a forum there that's called Oath of Academic Honesty, and inside that forum there is a downloadable document. Please download the document. This is the actual oath itself. Please read it over and sign it and then upload it back into the forum so that I will know that you have read the oath and you understand what it is asking you to do in accordance with the standards of academia at University of Rhode Island, as well as what I expect from the course. So please pause the video, find the document, Oath of Academic Honesty, on the forum, download it, sign it, and upload it back into that forum. Okay, have you done that? Okay, thank you very much. Hopefully you saw on the oath that you were expected to observe closed book protocol with both of the closed book sections of the midterm and the final, which means the only thing that you're allowed to use is your computer, your word processor for filling it out, or your pen and paper if you're doing it that way. And then for the open book part, you're welcome to use whatever you want to for sources. However, you must not plagiarize. You must make sure to cite any outside sources that you do use for the essays, and we'll cover that in more detail when we actually get to the essays themselves. Okay, so thank you for taking care of that step. All right, so now the midterm and the final exam, as we talked about, are both 40% of your entire grade. In both cases, the closed book section is 40% of that part, which means 40 points, and the open book essay is a maximum of 60 points out of the total 100 points used for each of them. Again, there is a closed book part and an open book part for both of them. What I do ask you to do, please, is to complete the entire midterm exam and the entire final exam, if possible, within a single sitting, so that you treat it as if it really is an exam. If it's not possible and you do need to do it in different discrete sessions for yourself, that's fine. I do understand that schedule constraints might require that, but I do ask you, if possible, to please do complete the entirety of the exam, midterm and final, seated in one location for one period of time, and then get the entire document together to then get back to me in your Dropbox. Okay, so please observe that if possible, but I will, of course, accommodate anybody who really is unable to do that with work constraints or anything else. That will be acceptable, but again, not preferable if it's possible. Okay, both exams should be completed, if possible, in Word format. If you do not have Microsoft Word, you may use a PDF software instead. And then each of the exams should be submitted when you're finished into your Dropbox as a single document. So in other words, not multiple documents with the different parts on them. Instead, a single document, Word preferably, or a PDF if you don't have Word. And again, it goes into your Dropbox. Now, if there's a technical glitch and you're not able to get it into the Dropbox, which does unfortunately sometimes happen, then you can email me, and if you need to, you can send me the exam by email, or the other alternative is to submit it onto the midterm exam forum and the final exam forum if it's really necessary. But hopefully the Dropbox itself will work properly. If you have any concerns about the Dropbox as to whether it got through, be sure to email me and I will check to be sure that I got it from you. If I don't receive it from you, I will do my best in timely fashion to email back to you and say that I didn't receive it, so that to give you an opportunity to resubmit it. If that was the reason why it was late, you will not receive a penalty for that. But still, be on top of that to be sure that I do get it, so that there won't be any misunderstandings later, any difficulties. Okay, so that's the technical stuff, and now we'll go into the exams themselves. So the midterm exam comes up about halfway through the course. Check, please, carefully on your calendar, on your syllabus, on your forums to know what the date is, because the midterm exam must be submitted by that date by the end of the day. Anytime after that, and you start receiving deductions up to 10 points per day late. So it's important to get it in on time, the midterm exam and the final exam. I especially need the final exam submitted on time because I have to get grades for the courses submitted not too long after the final exam is due into me. So you must get that into me as fast as possible. Again, you need to be timely getting it into me. Otherwise, if you fail to get either the midterm exam or the final exam into me at all, then you're going to receive an NW or an F, as we talked about in the previous video on grading. And if they come in late, then again, you start getting deductions. So don't let that happen. Know where the dates are and plan the time accordingly for getting them finished, and get the midterm into your Dropbox, the final exam into your Dropbox on time, as specified on your calendar, syllabus, and forum, so that there won't be any difficulty. Okay, and again, as a single document, either Word or PDF if necessary. Okay, so now the midterm exam. The closed book part is going to have 10 identifications. This will be about 40 or so names of characters that you've read about in the various Roman works that you'll have read up to that point. We'll cover which ones those are later when they make more sense, but there'll be ones from Virgil's Aeneid, for instance, like obviously Aeneas himself and his mother Venus and his son Ascanius and so forth. So those will be various characters. And other concepts that might be important, historic ones, pertaining to various Roman leaders in the Republic or during the Empire, or whatever might be appropriate. So there'll be about 40 of those listed. You will select 10 of them and identify them briefly. About 3 sentences or so is fine. Just coming up with about 3 different things to say about each one of them. You got to be very specific about coming up with 3 of them, if possible, and you need to be as accurate and as complete as you can with your IDs. But they still should be brief. They don't need to take up a lot of space or effort on your part. So those cover 28 points of the 40 points of the closed book part. Then you're going to get 2 passages emailed to you shortly before the exam is due. The 2 passages will be taken from any of the works of literature that you'll have read up to the midterm. Those may be Catullus, or Livy, or Ovid's Heroides, or Virgil's Aeneid. You'll see those on your syllabus, and so you'll know which works we're talking about. So 2 passages will be emailed to you, and you need to identify the title of the work from which the passage comes from, the author of that same work. You're going to give a short summary of the plot of that work, and then you're going to describe the context that we can find that passage in from that work. So be careful to remember that the plot of the work is the whole work, and the summary of the passage is just the passage itself as it fits in the whole work. Those are 2 different things. Be careful to distinguish them. Don't get them confused, and don't leave one or the other of them out. Otherwise, you will lose points. Okay, so those are the 2 passages emailed to you by me sometime within the week before the midterm is due. And again, remember to do those together with the IDs that will be listed on the midterm exam paper itself, the document, which will come to you out of resources. You'll get that yourself. Put that all together as one document. Okay, and now still with the same document, we have the open book essay. The open book essay is going to have to do with the last of the 4 works that you're reading before the midterm, and that's Virgil's Aeneid, which we're going to be spending 3 weeks on because it's lengthy and has a lot of very important mythological and historical ramifications to it. So what you're going to look at is whether Virgil, in composing Aeneid, wrote a genuine Roman work, or whether all he did was pick up some Greek myth somewhere and twist it around a little bit in order to make it look Roman. This is kind of in line with the reputation that the Romans have of grabbing stuff from other civilizations, like from the Greeks, and throwing them all together to make sort of a pastiche that's sort of Roman, which I myself would definitely not agree with, but it is the reputation the Romans have, and there is some cause for believing that. However, Virgil's Aeneid, I think you will see, is quite a bit better than that. So you're going to be discussing in the essay to what extent you do think that Virgil really succeeded in writing a real original Roman work, even though recognizably the material in it is taken from Greek and probably other sources. So that's what you'll be discussing in the open book essay. The essay needs to be approximately 4 to 6 pages long, could be a little longer, could be a little shorter. If you type it, which of course presumably you will do, then you're going to be making it 1.5 or 2 line space, double space. And you're going to use 12 or 14-point font for that. And you can use any style of footnotes or endnotes and works cited that you'd like to, like Chicago Manual of Style. You do, again, need to cite any outside sources that you use for reference. Anything that is not your own specific original idea needs to be cited if you take it from somebody else to avoid plagiarism. You don't actually have to do that with the class texts. I'll let those go. But if you do use some other source of your own, which you are very much encouraged to do, it will definitely impress me on your essay, do that, but be sure to cite it properly. Be very careful with grammar, punctuation, spelling, proper use of words like homonyms, sentence structure, making sure to italicize the titles and so forth. All of that is very particular for how I grade the essay. And also, we'll talk about this in a later video, but you need to be able to cite passages from, in this case, Aeneid or whatever work you're discussing as evidence for the argument that you're trying to present to me. So what you're basically doing is giving me your argument. In your body paragraphs, you will be citing the evidence for your argument from the ancient work itself, in this case, Aeneid for the midterm, and then concluding. Okay, so citation of evidence, especially original evidence from the text themselves, and analyzing it properly within your essay is the vital skill that you're going to need for completing the midterm exam, specifically the essay properly. We will be practicing that along the way in the forums so that you will get a good experience with that before you actually have to do that properly on the essay. Okay, so that's the midterm exam. And the final exam, to conclude the course, is pretty much the same thing. The closed book part, again, same standards from the Oath of Academic Honesty. Nothing else except your word processor and your memory is acceptable. The closed book part is going to be 4 passages now, which can be taken from any of the works that you'll have read, except not Apuleius, the final work, which is sort of an optional one that I throw in at the end. But all the other works, Catullus, Livy, both works of Ovid, Virgil, Seneca, Petronius, are all possible. So make sure you have read them all carefully enough and comprehensively enough to know what's in them so that you can recognize any of the works that may come up among your 4 passages for the final exam, closed book part. Okay, and again, title, work, the author, the plot summary, the whole work, and then the passage content, how it fits in the context of the passage. And then your open book essay is, how patriotic do you think Roman mythology is? Do you think that the term patriotic is an appropriate one for Roman mythology? So you have to think about what patriotic means, and then apply it if you think it's suitable for Roman mythology. Again, same principle, 4 to 6 pages. Either 1.5 space or double space. Again, be very particular with grammar, punctuation, spelling, proofreading, editing. All of that's got to be done really well. And again, be prepared to cite passages from the ancient works that you use as evidence in order to back your argument. If you give me some argument that's really great, but you don't back it, you're still going to lose points, even if I agree with your argument. You have to show me that you can back the argument with works that you've actually read in the class and know how to use properly. That's what I'm looking for, just to show me that you actually did read the works and you really did understand them enough to be able to advance an argument. And again, when you're done with each of these exams, you will submit it not into the forum, but into your Dropbox. The midterm and the final exam, both of them need to go into your Dropbox. Only if there's some problem with that should you do some other means. And if you do, email me to tell me that in advance so that I'll be aware of that and I'll make that accommodation. But otherwise, these are to be submitted into your Dropbox. Okay, we are finally done with the first series of videos for this introductory day. So come on back in the next session. Make sure that you get your that session's first homework assignment ready and your readings. And then you'll be coming on back with a couple more administrative videos, and then we'll actually get into our first author, which is Catullus. Okay, and we will see you next video, next session.